Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
You guys ready?
Let's do this thing.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is Dr. Homebrew. We are back for the, I don't know, what is it, the month of, is it November yet? I can't even really tell.
It's November. It's time to start growing those, shave and regrow your beard, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, if you have a big beard, you really should clip it for, your mask anyways, because that thing needs to be, tight against your face on the mask.
Yeah.
We're in California. The call came down from the governor that it's mandatory now. So if you're in California, look, you should be wearing your mask anyways. You don't need the government to tell you how to be safe, right? I mean, it's the same thing with seatbelt laws and helmet laws. Everyone's all mad about helmet laws, but yet we still all have to do it. So let's just, come on, let's wear a mask out in public. We can get back to the bars. Yeah, I'm trying to. I was watching I think it was actually The Wire. Taryn and I are rewatching The Wire because TV now kind of sucks, and there's some bar scene and we're both like, man, I kind of miss just hanging out in bars. No, I'm corrected. It was Married with Children, season 7, episode 12, the Christmas episode, where Al gets a job as a mall Santa, and he's hanging out in a bar, and it's like, wow, man, that must be really cool to do. But
Well, what I've heard, Jason, is in Benicia, just across the bridge from me, I've heard the bars are open. So if you want to drive out to Benicia, you can probably go sit down and have a drink.
No, I'm not doing that.
It's like when you're,
if you miss it that much, Benicia awaits.
Yeah.
When you're 17 and you live like 40, 50 miles from the Canadian border, and it's illegal for kids to drink up there, and you just go. Or 18, I guess. I think it was 18.
Yeah. Probably.
Anyway,
I don't know. Before we get too far into wearing masks, or I don't know what I'm talking about, I do want to thank 5 Star Chemicals, our very, very good friends and close personal acquaintances over there at 5 Star, are helping you make better beer by cleaning and sanitizing. Homebrewing is sort of finding its resurgence now, which is oddly ironic, I suppose, because HomebrewCon was canceled. It was all virtual this year, so you don't really get that really tight sense of community like we used to in the past, and hopefully we will in the future. But yet homebrewing is sort of taking off, as a result of us being sequestered from everybody, if that makes sense, right? You look at homebrewing as a community-driven hobby. Excuse me, but anyway, so if you're at home and you've just discovered this show, or if you're at home and you've been listening for a long time and you're not using 5 Star Chemicals, you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You're not be able to go to homebrew clubs right now, so they won't tell you. I'm going to tell you for you. You're doing it wrong. 5
it's
star.
poor form for the apocalypse trying to use anything else, really.
That's right.
You need your apocalypse skills. Like, you got to get them down right, or they'll drag your ass into the street.
5starchemicals.com. They support us, they support the show, and they support you making good beer at home. It's funny, you mentioned the apocalypse, Brian. I'm playing the new hit video game, The Last of Us Part 2.
Ooh. You were recently playing like games where you invent new pathogens and stuff, and now you're playing just like, let's just get this done with. Mow down the last of them. And
it's so good. Man, if you guys, if anybody's out there gaming, I don't know. I know it's on PS4. It might be on Xbox. I don't know. But it is such a good video game. I can't even express to you. It's almost better than the first part.
You're twisted, my friend. I don't know that I would agree with you. I watched when I was in college. I would watch people play Doom, and I was just like, "What's the point of this? It's so stupid." You're just like,
shoot. The Last of Us The Last of Us, the series is you're basically playing a movie.
Cool. I know some of the new
that's what I've heard.
Very movie-like.
You got to just go online and watch someone play it. It's phenomenal. There's no cutscenes really, or there's cutscenes, but they're sort of like seamless with how with when your character moves. There's no loading screens anymore, really.
Right.
It's a phenomenal post-apocalyptic scavenger game. It's phenomenal.
Right on.
I'm having a really good time with it right now. I read today that the first game takes about 15 hours or so, and the second part that I'm playing now takes like 25. So it took them 6 years to make this game, and I'm having a blast doing it. Although, now that I have Alice and she's been watching me play the other game we were obsessed with, which is Animal Crossing for the Switch.
Oh, okay.
Play that game. It's for babies.
Yeah, my stepson to be and his girlfriend love the Animal Crossing. They have the Switch.
Yeah.
And I thought about getting my daughter one for her birthday. Yeah. Except that she doesn't need another excuse to procrastinate. And also she never has asked for a Switch. But I out of curiosity, I went to like bestbuy.com and Amazon and looked it up. You can't buy a Switch at any price right now because Animal Crossing is that popular.
Well, once the lockdown happened a couple months ago, I guess now, that you couldn't find a Switch for love or money, man.
No.
And what they would hit online, and people were sniping them. They would using code and software or whatever to find it, whatever was online, and buy it right away, and then they resell it on eBay for like $1,600.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's impossible. But anyway, so she used to watch us play, or she watches us still play Animal Crossing, which is cute. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe she can watch The Last of Us. And it's not for 2-year-olds to watch because it's like infected, ripping out throats, and you're bashing people's brains in and shit. I'm like, I can't. I don't know.
What 2-year-old doesn't like seeing a chainsaw through a skull, man? Come on.
Well, because part of me goes, how she doesn't know what it is. There's no context.
No.
Right? She has no idea.
Right.
But also, it doesn't mean that it's not a disturbing visual, right?
And I'm sure the noises are scary and everything else is scary too.
It's scary. It's a scary thing, man. But anyway, I highly recommend it. Brian Cooper, what are we talking about today, man? What beers are we going on? You're muted, Brian Cooper. Wait, I can't hear you. There we go.
Okay. My iPhone tried to connect to my damn headphones. That's what's going on.
Steve Jobs is trying to talk to you from the grave, man.
Disconnect.
Brian, what if we had one device that could do everything? Brian.
Yeah.
Brian.
Buy Apple stock on June 30th and sell it on July 12th.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we have another show with 3 Brians on it.
Oh,
That's what's
I love
going
that.
on.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, our friend Brian.
Council of Bryans.
I'm going to call me Brian 1. You're Brian 2. And sorry, Brian M is going to have to be 3. We'll just call him Evil 3.
Jamil might sue us for that. I thought you were going to make Brian Shar Brian 3, just because. Yeah.
Slide him
the
further down
term
the
Evil
totem
3
pole.
is here not used to denote any goods or services, and no goods or services are being sold herewith.
That's right.
That's the legalese there.
And then,
we've got a Helles from him, and after that, we're going to have a discussion about. In this age, the beer judge certification program and competition organizers have had to make some adjustments. So I recently took over as the regional rep for the West region in the BJCP. And our past rep, who now gets a break and gets to sip a lot of Mai Tais, is going to join us and talk about kind of the changes, but also creative ways that people can go about it. And, he's organizing a cider exam for late July, I believe it is, down in San Diego. And they're going to make a go of it with distancing and very careful measures in place so they can keep giving this cider exam, which they're in rare supply. And you have to schedule these things, a year in advance or so. So it makes sense. It makes sense if you can do it safely. And the people that participate take the risk. We'll talk about all those things and also competitions. A lot of people that come on our show, they're competition enterers. So they might miss that, but there's talk of virtual comps and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's a brave new world, man. And until we get a vaccine, I think it's sort of just going to be this way. So I'm interested to see what Travis has to say about all that. It'll be good. It'll be a good time. That sounds great. And I'm looking forward to this Helles. It's one of the beers that I actually have in front of me because as the show progresses, again, I'm not gonna have these beers. So I'm drinking an 805 right now because you got to get ready. You know what I mean?
It's better to have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah, is it though? I don't know. Why don't we do a A/B test? Let's test that out. Brian.
Yeah, I've never had a lobotomy, so maybe it's awesome.
Right? One of you Brian's gets a frontal lobotomy, and then we just compare and see who has a better life.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Rock?
We're going to take a quick break.
Oh.
We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Brian Mills. The Brian Mills, the Council of Brians will convene. Conceive. They might conceive. I don't know. Who knows? This is getting
anything could happen in June 2020.
Yeah. Hey, you can't tell me what not to do. You know what I'm trying to say? Anyway, this is Dr. Homebrew. Hang on. We'll be right back.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. Dr. Homebrew, we are joined with our friend Brian Mills, who has a Helles and is the third party in the Council of Brians. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Perfect.
We're good, thanks.
Sweating.
Awesome.
Sweating in my studio here.
Sunny California. We're still a little light out here. It's probably pitch black where
it's
you
dark
are.
here.
Yeah, but this time of year, it's like light out at 5 a.m, and I'm sitting there like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, for sure. It's weird trying to sleep train a kid, right? And then suddenly it's still bright outside at 7 o'clock. And like
They're up all night. Yeah, it's dinner time. No, it's not. I want to goof around.
Like, what do you?
Yeah, wait until you get to daylight savings time. Train your kid, because oh my God, you wouldn't think an hour would make that much of a difference. Oh, it makes that much of a difference.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
I definitely believe it. All right, Brian. So you've sent us a couple beers. You've been on the last two shows, I think, for what is it, a Schwartz beer and
Meritzen.
Yeah. So let's tackle this Helles. My usual question: is this the first Helles you've ever made, or are you branching out?
This is the first Helles I've done. I've made the recipe a few times. I feel like it's a good beer. Just kind of looking to see if maybe there's something that'll make it a great beer.
That sounds like a question. I feel like it's a good beer. Joke. Thank you, Brian, for laughing at my joke. I appreciate it.
That's my job. I'm like the Ed McMahon of this show, I think.
Ears up Mai Tai glass. Look at that. That's a good color.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that's called cross-promoting right there.
That's true.
Yeah.
If I had these for sale still, definitely. Now it's just bragging.
For the people that can see it on the podcast.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, look, I'm actually recording this, so it's going to be on YouTube at some point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
I try to tell my daughter that I'm a YouTuber because that kind of impresses her, like, ooh, YouTubers, and she loves YouTubers. And she looks at me and she says, you're not a YouTuber. So right. I guess I'm not a YouTuber, even though I'm going to be on YouTube.
Well, I don't even know what to say to that, Brian. Once again, you've out-segued me, and I don't know what to say anymore. Brian Shar, why don't you go ahead and start with Mills's Helles, please?
I will love to. Thank you. And, Brian, we know you're in a homebrew club because we talked about it the last two shows, but listeners might not be listening back-to-back. So why don't you give a shout-out to your club?
Sure. I am in the Lebanon-area Fermenters in Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Nice. And if we're ever in Lebanon,
just flip them off.
I had an itch.
He scratched his face and put out his middle finger. I don't know. Freudian finger slip. Okay, I'm sure it's a great club.
I really love this beer. It's clear that you like German styles, given that that's the ones you've sent us, and you're really good at it. I like this one pretty much as well as I like the others that you've sent us. Aroma had moderate malt sweetness, some sort of prominent perfumey Pils malt, very low spicy herbal hops. I might have talked myself into thinking they were there, but I got some herbal, probably noble hops. No off aromas. Got a hint of sulfur from longer fermentation, which is great. That's what you expect. Gave it 9 out of 12. Appearance, 3 out of 3. This beer is crystal clear, straw colored. The head is low and persistent. Looks like it should. That's a good thing. Flavor. Initially, the flavor is malty. There's a Pils malt flavor that's present, but not to be quite as strongly present as it was in the aroma. Firm bitterness comes up pretty quick. I think it's probably too much bitterness for this style. No hop. I didn't get really any hop flavor despite all the bitterness. Balance is toward bitterness from mid-palate to a long finish, which I liked the long finish. It's really well attenuated, which excellent job, especially with a lager, and didn't get any off flavors. So overall, gave it 12 out of 20 for a flavor, that is. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. Oddly, I got a little warming on the first sip, which I attribute to the fact that I haven't had dinner and it's the first alcoholic beverage of the last 24 plus hours. So I didn't think that really meant anything, and it didn't taste. I couldn't taste the ethanol. I didn't really get any ethanol character out of it, other than that first, "Hey, I'm drinking a beer" sip. Medium high carbonation, definitely more perky than creamy in that regard. No astringency, 5 out of 5. Overall impression, I really, really like this beer, and I would drink a lot of this. If I came to your homebrew club meeting or was hanging out at your house, I would be drinking you out of your Helles, except you've already done that. So good for you. There's no technical or process flaws that I could tell. So good job on that. The issues to me are recipe issues, right? So a Helles is like the flip side of a Pilsner, that a Helles has bitterness, but it's more of a malt-oriented beer. A Pilsner also has the same Pilsner malt as a Helles, but it's more bitter, more hop flavor. I think there's no coincidence that in the guidelines, the IBUs cut off on the high end, cut off at like 22 for Helles and start at 22 for Pilsner. That's, to me, kind of the defining character. Certainly there has to be hop bitterness and hop character in a Helles, but it's not as much as the Pilsner. And I was thinking of maybe recommending, well, maybe this would have done better if you entered as a Pilsner, but then in that case, there wouldn't be quite enough hop aroma or hop flavor. So I think ultimately this is really good, and I would make this exact beer again. I would maybe bump your bitterness back a third, your bittering hops, and just kind of see where you are there. I gave it 7 for overall impression for a total score of 36. That's very good. And again, the issues, really well made. You really know what you're doing in terms of your process, especially with lagers. And that's not always easy to do. It's just, I think a minor recipe tweak would really put this well over a 40.
Very good. Brian Cooper.
All right.
You're
Well, it
up.
started out ice cold, but it's 85 degrees out here, so it's warming up quick. The flavors are changing just like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really also liked the initial aroma of this beer quite a lot. It has a pleasant malt with kind of a lightly grainy, bready sweetness impression. Low floral and herbal hops come through. There is a low sulfur that's appropriate for style. It's clean. There's no huge DMS sticking out or diacetyl, acetaldehyde. Everything's been cleaned up by the lagering that you've done. There's no esters poking through to make it too fruity. So yeah, good there. In the appearance, it was fairly clear, and it's kind of a golden color. It should stop at light gold. I happen to know too, we've had this bottle for a while. So it could have been some age and could have let the color deepen a little bit. I'd like to know if maybe it was a little lighter when you first poured it, but we'll talk about that. Had a low whitish head that fell after a little while, mostly fine bubbles. But yeah, just seemed to, on the dark end at least, if not a little dark for style. Usually the Helles are more kind of yellow gold. But that's a fine point. I dropped it to a 2 on appearance. Flavor-wise, it's again, I do agree that initial attack is a pretty rich maltiness. It's lightly sweet in there too, but not overpowering. There's toast and light grainy bread crusts, some nice malt flavors. It seems like you used good ingredients and they're shining through. Medium low bitterness, I thought, with a semi-dry finish, balanced slightly to the malt. You probably get away with a little more hop in there. What I got though, then I had a little belch pop out, and I got what I thought seemed like a hint of a phenolic spice, and it came up in the belch. I'm not tasting it in the flavor. It's just like this little, and then it's like, that's like spicy. Okay, but I did just have some Mexican food too, so shouldn't be judging after Mexican food. It's the poor form. So it doesn't seem like the beer's oxidized or anything, but it is a bit kind of dulled. I think possibly from the age that I know it. We've had it for a while. This was shipped pre-COVID era in our world here, and then we had to sort some things out and figure out how to get beers from JP and all that, and we did, but it just took a while. So partly our fault there. So yeah, but no huge issues. It seems cleanly lagered. And then mouthfeel, I also get a little bit of warmth, Brian, and it's a little distracting for me. Not too heavy, but just a little pop of like, oh, that warms down the throat a little bit.
Yeah, I just got a little bit of warmth in the last sip. Like maybe there's a little more. Maybe this is more alcoholic than initially we had thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it could. Yeah, I mean, it could be higher alcohols, or maybe a little bit of a bite if there is like a phenol or a chlorophenol or something just backgroundy that it's attacking the throat a little bit. And I'm still trying to make my mind up on that. What do you want to say, Jim?
Well, I feel like we wouldn't notice if it was like it feels already body temperature.
That's true. Even I'm sitting here, it's probably 85 here.
Yeah. I feel like if this was poured at a bar, it would, and it wasn't so hot that I don't know. I feel like we're almost doing Brian a disservice. Like if this was a real judging table, I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Would temperature be big of a factor? Could some of these flaws that we're seeing be pointed out if this was 20 degrees cooler?
True. Yeah, good point. It does definitely affect your impression. I started drinking the beer when it was pretty cold, so I just brought it out of my fridge because I knew it was going to warm up fast. So I did get an impression of it while it was still pretty cool, like a good judging temperature. So, but yeah, overall it's there's no real astringency. It's otherwise it's nice. But overall, the heat's a little noticeable, but the color's a little dark, which could be attributed to age. I think that part of the, this beer has it's kind of a semi-dry finish, and then in the mouthfeel it's kind of crisp, and it expresses itself as kind of not Pils-like because it's not really hoppy. It's very malt balanced, but it's got a little bit of a kind of a roughness to it, which should be smoother. And I think it might be a mineral balance thing. And I wonder what you do with your water treatment. I really like to talk about your water. Are you using water with a high sulfate content? Are you building your water up from something? And what's your chloride to sulfate ratio? I would say maybe bring up the chlorides if it's high in the other, and back off the other. You can blend the water down with some RO or some distilled water. But it's pretty good. What I got is maybe phenol. I'm wondering too if it could be if there's chlorine in your water or chloramines. Got to get that out of your water first, or something like that can pop up too if you take good care of your yeast and everything else. But it seems well cared for. It seems like really well lagered otherwise. So I liked the beer. I gave it a 34, and if Brian and I were judging in a competition, we battled that out over those 2 points. We were off from each other, but I think that's fair for it. It was probably a higher 30s beer when we first got it, and then we just let it sit in JP's fridge for a while, and then it got transported again, and then we got it. Now we're finally judging it here in June, and we got it in February. So I'm sorry, but that's where we're at right now, and I'd love to talk about your water and your recipe and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. Honestly, if It reminds me of something that you would pick up like at BevMo. Where it's just maybe it's a little older than it needs to be. Maybe it's a little warmer than it needs to be. There's like a little bit of like an aspirin-y bitterness that I get in the back of my throat, but it's just now hitting, and I've been drinking this beer for 10 minutes. So, I would give it, and I don't normally like weigh in on the scores. I would give it like a 36. I think it's very good. That Pilsner malt flavor and the aroma and the flavor are both very, very good. And for however old this beer is and for what it's been through, the fact that those two qualities can sort of maintain and overcome everything else, I think you're getting really good ingredients, and I think you're handling them really well. So I just want to interject. Mills, why don't you go ahead and take us through your recipe, and then we can kind of jibber jabber about your beer.
Sure. First of all, it's good to hear that at least my bottling technique holds up.
It's good carbonation, man.
Thank you. So let's flip back to the right page. So this one is a 5% Helles. It starts out at 1046, finishes at about 1008. It is 94% Pilsner and 6% Carahel. There is bittering hops is Magnum for about 9 IBUs. That goes in at 60 minutes. And then at 30 minutes, there's about 12 IBUs of Hallertau Middle Fruit. Normal traditional lager fermentation, keep it cold most of the time. As it gets toward the end, I do raise the temperature a little bit. I start off and hold it at 49 degrees for most of the fermentation. For the water profile, I do have pretty hard water. With most of my lagers, what I've been doing is blending RO water in with my tap water. So it's about, let's see if I can see. I say about 75% RO water, then with my tap water blended in, and it comes out to, the minerals are probably a little bit high.
Wow, 75% to get it down to where you can use it. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's difficult. The last lager I did, the Schwartz beer from before, that was the first one I started at 100% RO water. But this one with the blend, even with the blend, the calcium was at about 80 parts per million, sulfate at about 64. I did add a little bit of calcium and gypsum in. Chlorides are at about 97.
Okay.
How's his water, guys? Pretty good? Need some adjustment?
Where was the sulfates again?
Sulfate 64 parts per million.
Yeah.
Chloride.
I'm not Palmer, but it sounds fine to me.
Yeah, and I'm surprised too that when you mentioned the bitterness that Jason and Brian were both getting, you were targeting the low end of IBUs for that. I mean, IBUs are always, they're never going to be exact either, but
yeah, I mean,
it seemed like you're aiming for that low, like a 16 or something.
It comes out to about 20 IBUs at 5%
okay. Well, maybe that's
ABV.
middle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Middle. Yeah.
Is it was it bottle conditioned, Mills?
Kegged.
Okay.
What was your fermentation temperature? Did you say, and I missed it?
I started off at 49. I hold it there till it's, maybe about 80% done or so, and then slowly start to bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah,
frankly,
I know how hard it is to make lagers, and what I'll let you just a second, Brad. I wanted to say one thing because I remembered the other two beers we had from you were like all our feedback to you each time was, oh, you just got to get them to attenuate a little more. This one is pleasantly, fairly dry. It's not pushing a lot of sweetness, and it dries off properly on the finish. So that's definitely nice. But maybe, I don't know. The water seemed okay.
I think every brewer has like one style that they can do really well, whether it's their circumstances about how they brew or their water. Like I feel like my stouts are really good, but pale ales I can't brew them for shit. There's no way. I just can't do it. So maybe that's it. Maybe Mills needs to be brewing Helles all the time. And
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Me too, brother.
Yeah. And you do a big yeast pitch and everything, I'm sure, and big starter. Yeah.
Send us some more Helles next time you make it.
Yeah, it's the 3470. I just keep using that same yeast, and a lot of times, if like right now, I think I have a little bit of the Schwarzbier left, but the Märzen and the Helles are gone. So I'll probably start the Helles, make that, and then the Märzen will come right after that, right onto the same yeast.
Okay. Well, we'd love to drink it fresher.
You know what you can do instead of doing the Märzen on that Helles yeast? Another Helles. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
I love experimenting with yeast, and I love trying like a lot of different yeasts. But there's a lot of value to once you've done that and you find one that you like the flavor profile of, to just settling on that and using that as your yeast for those styles. For like we were just saying, then you can pitch on top of a yeast cake. You can wash it and repitch. You have options like that, and experimentation is fun, but dialing it in is pretty good too.
Yeah. I generally like to do a little bit of both. Play around with some from different styles, and then have a few that I just want to nail.
Yeah. How many times do you repitch on your existing yeasts typically?
Usually only a few, and that's more of a timing issue than anything. Especially if it's a lager and I've got 3 different ones, it takes me a little while to get through those. So, by the time I've got a few different lagers gone, that yeast has probably been sitting around for 2-3 months.
It's hard, man, because you want to brew like you're a production brew house. I think as like homebrewers, like we just sort of when you start getting active, you're like, oh man, if I could consume all this beer, this would be my schedule, and just life never works out that way sometimes. And it sounds like that's kind of where you are. We're like, I could really be cranking out a bunch of beer, but I can't get. I'm just one man, damn it.
Yeah, that and my day job is a project manager, so I try to get the schedule going.
Okay, falls right in line with a lot of other homebrewers.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
So Mills, do you have like a Gantt chart for your schedule for your beers of like what's happening? Do you do those up in like Microsoft Project?
No, I'm not quite that bad, but I do kind of have a plan in my head.
Okay. Good. That bodes well for your mental health.
Yeah, for sure. Mills, do you have anything else for the guys?
No, I mean,
okay.
It sounds like at least this one's in the right ballpark. Unless they have anything that can just push me over that edge a little bit more.
I don't know. What do you guys?
Was it a little lighter earlier on? Because I think.
You did bring that up. It was a little bit lighter, so there may have been a little bit of oxidation in that bottle.
This is pushing kind of a medium gold, but it's still like the flavors are there, and it's just a slight bit gold, and some other things start popping out. But you bottled it well for how well it was stored. Yeah. It's been real fun having you on for a few shows. You can come back anytime. We love repeat entrants down the road. Just come back and hey, I fixed up this Helles you guys bagged on last September. Yeah, here you go.
I'll send you a hazy IPA next time.
Yeah, please don't do that. Did you say when you brewed this, how old this beer was, and I missed it?
I want to say this was brewed back in the fall, October maybe.
It's held up.
And by the time I bottled it, it was February. So, Like it had a nice long period of cold lagering.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
that
deal.
held up really well for that. Well, yeah, good job, man. And if that's it, we'll let you go.
That's all I got.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
guys.
Brian.
We're now dropping down to 2 Brians on the show only.
Oh,
I
don't
hate
know how we
that.
cope. All right, thank
You know, if he sends us a hazy IPA, that bottle needs to be at least a quarter yeast. That's supposed to be a joke. I was waiting for someone to laugh.
Oh, I get it. Sorry, I was looking up something else. I'm like, I don't know what Brian's talking about.
Please roll the bottles because it's full of yeast. That's going to taste great. Yeah. No, that's not what you want.
No.
Yeah, not at all, man. Not at all. All right, before we get to a break, you guys, I want to tell you about Duke Cannon, and they're talking about thick. Let me tell you, the Duke Cannon Thick High Viscosity Body Wash. You can grab $9 each, or you can grab all 4 for $30. The flavors are, well, not flavors, they're aromas. You don't eat this stuff, okay? You put it on your stupid doughy body,
could.
and then you wash. I mean, you could eat it for sure. If you're tired of, consuming, low-fat milk because that's all they had at the store, if you want to, this is America. You can eat soap. I don't really care.
Yeah.
The people at Duke Cannon do not want you to eat soap. Let me just keep that very clear. The aromas are accomplishment, naval supremacy, old glory, and productivity, which is what I personally use. It's an invigorating and uplifting combination of peppermint, pine, and eucalyptus scents. So if you want to smell like JP, grab productivity from the Duke Cannon folks. It's good stuff, man. It's thick. It's made with plant-based thickeners for a superior lather. It does get very foamy, which is pretty cool. And then as an added bonus, when you have a 17.5-ounce bottle of thick, you're getting in a light arm workout, you guys. That's what they say. Anyway, go to DukeCannon.com, use promo code BREWING, and you'll save $15 off your entire order, not just for the body wash. If you haven't been on Duke Cannon before, check it out. It is awesome stuff. They have a lot of good stuff for you personally, also for gifts. If you have a lot of smelly people in your life, Duke Cannon is great. 15% off your entire order with 15% off your entire order, promo code BREWING, and you get free shipping with orders over $35. So you're saving twice there. And let me tell you, it's going to be very easy to get over $35 with the Duke Cannon.
I like saving twice.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So check it out, DukeCannon.com, promo code BREWING. All right, we're going to take a very quick break here, folks. We'll be right back with Travis. We're going to be talking BJCP judging. It's going to be a good time. Hang on. We'll be right back.
Ma'am, I'll need to take your top off for this examination.
Oh, doctor.
All right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We have Travis here on the line, but before we get to talking about what happens post-COVID in the judging scene, I do want to remind you that your pubic area probably needs to be trimmed. And I'm sorry, I should have sugarcoated it. But now is not the time. We're trying to be direct right now. You got to go to manscaped.com and grab yourself the Lawnmower 3.0. It is much better than the 2.0. And if you have the 2.0 or have used it before, it's an easy transition to the 3.0 because it's the same replacement blade with a new and improved skin-safe technology. So they've taken the not cutting and killing yourself option and improved it, which is pretty cool. It also has an LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trim. The motor is 7,000 RPM, which so it goes very, very fast. It cuts very,
That's
very
a lot of RPMs.
It's a lot of RPMs, and it's very quiet. In fact, it's called Quiet Stroke Technology, which is trademarked. So you can't take that. And I like the name. It's pretty cool. And the charging stand. It has a neat little charging stand, so it fits right in with all your other personal and grooming products. You don't have to hide it underneath a sink or whatever with all your other illicit grooming gear. So check it out. Go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping if you use the promo code BREWING at checkout. It's manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping. There's a comma in there. 20% off, comma, free shipping. So check that out. Travis, welcome back, man. How are you?
Good, good. How are you guys tonight?
Not too bad. Just
Great.
Right. What are you sipping over there? Down there.
At the moment, a little bit of moose drool. Went old school.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man.
Classic.
So, Travis, you are here to talk to us a little bit about sort of how the BJCP is reacting to the COVID-19 pandemic, because we can't just be, sitting home and not sort of, the judges anyways, preparing our palates and keeping up with training and processes, and also getting new judges into the system. The second part of that, I think, is also keep having competition so homebrewers can still be active in the hobby and be learning and brewing more beer at home. So the BJCP, I know, is sort of tackling that and how to address that, like many businesses are, right? So if you want to just keep us up to date a little bit about how the BJCP is addressing the COVID pandemic and what we can do at home to sort of help that out.
Sure.
If I can first just briefly
ahead,
introduce
Brian.
Travis. He is my predecessor. I am the current regional rep for the West region in the BJCP. He has been our fearless leader. I was an assistant rep for the last 3 years, and he was the rep for 3 additional years before that, for a total of 6 years, leading all our judges out here on the West Coast. He's done a great job, and he deserves a nice, happy, fun retirement with lots of beer and Mai Tais. So with that.
Thanks. Yeah, and I should preface all my comments by I'm not speaking on behalf of the BJCP officially. I can tell you what I've seen. BJCP is recommending everybody follow their state, local, federal guidelines, whatever those may be.
Sure.
And of course, also, competition organizers or exam administrators should use their own judgment, given their local conditions. So all those disclaimers aside, I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm a geological engineer, but what I've seen was, as we went into the lockdown, we got caught. The national homebrew competition, all the beers had been received, but nobody had judged any yet. So as the lockdown proceeded, it felt like a crime that these things were going unjudged. And I know a lot of different places have come up with some new approaches to enable judging from distance. I've seen Zoom judging happening up there in the Bay Area. I know you guys plowed through a lot of those entries, gave a lot of feedback to people. And now people are really starting to look to the future. I just got an email today from the Mazer Cup, the big mead competition in Colorado, that they've rescheduled for the end of September, and they think they figured out some judging techniques by spreading things out over a longer period of time. Instead of 2 days, they're going to spread it over 4, and keeping people distanced, having more open venues where it's not enclosed spaces, taking typical precautions when handling entries, that type of thing, trying to make sure that we're not touching the same surfaces or disinfecting in between. I mean, I think it's a lot of common sense type stuff, but anyway, I think I was surprised. I wrote a little article about an exam we're going to put on next month, and then in the BJCP newsletter last month or this month, there was 3 articles from different people on various judging approaches. So I think it's something that people are starting to think about how to do safely. And hopefully we'll figure this out.
Yeah, hopefully, for sure. I recently, speaking about those the clubs down in San Diego and up here in the Bay Area that have kept the judging going. We found out the day we were doing our first prelim sessions for NHC in March that the competition was off, and we're just looking at each other like, well, what do we do now? And we're like, let's just judge these entries. We're sitting here. Okay, well, we wanted the brewers to get some feedback, so at least do this motion. And then, the Doe's Club up here that's organized in the San Francisco region, they carried that forward, and they started on some of the smaller categories where they had 2 bottles of each with manageable flight sizes. They went through and did some Zoom judging, and then they also did they started doing some in-person distance judging with some real safe procedures in place. And I just the other weekend got to finish, we took a big table of them from Doe's and helped them finish out one of the last 3 or 4 tables they had. They just finished it over just before HomebrewCon. And so we did this. Of course, it was down to the strong ones. We got strong Belgians, and we had to do, like 4 flights of those with some other people that helped us. And we stayed 6 feet apart. And my buddy had some, it's basically this, it's the stuff that they put in those wipes, you know, they like to spray the bottles down with it. I don't know, it's called like quaternary ammonia or something. Like they sprayed it down and wiped the bottles down. There was no, you know, just really careful with clean towels and careful pouring and
every beer had
transferring and
boozy of aroma notes.
I felt pretty safe. I was, you know, 6 feet removed from anybody else judging with me, and you know, we were all right. So yeah. But
it's probably hard to remember to stay distanced after having some Belgian dark strong.
Right. Yeah, we did some other nice beers after that. Our host John cracked some good stuff. But yeah, Travis has some really good tips for what you're planning to do for your exam,
Sure.
and I'd love to hear some of the specifics on that.
Yeah. I mean, specifically, I think this probably could apply to, you know, competitions as well. But you know, I think it all starts with the planning stages, letting everybody involved know that, hey, we're going to try to make a go at this, but things may be different than what you're used to. That goes to both judges as well as entrants. You know, capping entries, fewer entries, that type of thing. But I broke down in my article that into like planning for an exam or a competition, the day of, some details there, and then kind of follow up afterwards, and not too much follow up really. But you know, the main thing I think was picking a suitable venue. I think in years past, competitions have crowded people into conference rooms and things, and you know, judges are very close, and there's a lot of loud chatter at close quarters. Well, you know, I think the CDC has recently revised some of their expectations. You know, they're not so concerned about surface contact and things like that, unless somebody just sneezed on the surface. But nobody will quite give out some guidelines as to how long will this virus live on a beer bottle. So the data is just not there for that. So we're, you know, taking an overabundance of caution, which for me came from, you know, a lot of people said, you know, the things I put in the article were overkill. You know, this is a lot of extra stuff to go through to, you know, for this concern. But my issue was with one of the people taking the exam with me had been through multiple cases of asthma in their past, and he's just very concerned about being exposed to this thing. You know, the consequences for an exposure would be huge for them. So while a healthy person, you know, could get through an exposure relatively easily, they can kind of play it off. You know, I'm catering to the folks that need to be protected the most, I guess. And then I figure everybody else will be a little inconvenienced, but you know, can live with it from there.
I didn't think it was over the top either, really, myself, because you just have to think about every point that something could be transferred from you know, if a steward was asymptomatic and shedding virus, you know, okay, how do you, you know, make, you know, part of it too was even just checking their temperatures. You know, if you want to go to that length, for sure. I mean, and asking people to let you know if, you know, if they get sick after the competition too. So like things like that.
Did Brian freeze? Or am I frozen?
I think he did. No, I think. Can you hear us?
There he is.
Good now.
Okay.
He's back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So specifically, I think the thing that we're most concerned about now is the longer and more enthusiastically you're engaged with a person who's infected is the higher chance of contracting the virus. So we're trying to separate people as much as possible, have great, you know, ventilation. We're doing things like propping doors at the venue, so you don't have to touch the doorknobs and things like that, just in case. You know, the bathrooms are going to be open. There's going to be signage directing people as to what to do, so you don't have to ask or speak about it 10 different times. Try to minimize the amount of talking that actually has to happen in an enclosed space.
That's smart. That's
something I wouldn't have even thought of either. It's like, you know, talking vigorously, like excitedly, you're spreading more germs from your mouth that way. It's smart.
Exactly. I mean, we're trying to minimize the total number of people involved, period. And then the people that, you know, other than when you're sat down and judging, basically everybody is going to have face masks on coming and going, and any any debrief we can do after the exam with like the proctors, we're going to take that outside. We're going to go outside for the celebration beer afterwards and to find out, or cider afterwards, and to find out what were the ciders and what did the proctors think about those. So all of that type of stuff we're going to do outside. Our venue is going to be inside, but we're very fortunate to have an entire office suite that is, one of the people taking the exam manages a building. So it's empty. It's been empty for months. Nobody's ever there. And we have all these empty offices to put people in. So,
wow.
Oh yeah, there you go. The figure that goes along with it. So we're mapping
it's all mapped out.
So that takes us back to the planning. One of the main things I was thinking was, well, if I have 12 people, I have too many, but I really only have 8 or 9. So I'm going to make sure I have a space for everybody and everybody's kind of spread out.
Okay. And masks when you're not testing. Yeah.
Yep, masks coming and going. The other big thing is setting that expectation. So I'm planning on sending an email to everybody. Actually, everybody that's taking the test got to review the guidelines that I put out there. But I want to just make sure that they all kind of acknowledge in advance certain key things, that this is going to be expected. This is required by San Diego County, so there's no real way around it. And so prepping them for that, we're gonna prepare a self-declaration and a waiver form that just basically is them signing off that they acknowledge that these are the risks and here's how it's passed and here's what we're doing to protect them. Also acknowledging that they have not tested positive for COVID-19 in the last few days, or they're not symptomatic. They haven't been exposed to other people that have had COVID-19 in the last 14 days. Or also that they're that they're not caring for like somebody in a high risk group.
Really high risk, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just because it's just not. I mean, beer judging is great and all, but is it really worth risking your grandma's life or being around us bozos for a day? So
I guess it depends how much you like your grandma.
I suppose that's true. So I think when it comes to the actual exam day, we're going to get a bunch of supplies. We're going to get the wipes. We're going to do all the cleaning. I'm going to get there super early in the morning and make sure that the place is well set up. But it's normally I would bring 3 or 4 helpers with me. This time I'm just going to take that on myself and do the extra work rather than having a lot of extra people around. Typical supplies, hand sanitizers are going to be everywhere. I'm also telling everybody to bring whatever supplies they feel they need to be comfortable. So if you want to bring your own sanitizer, your own wipes, whatever, please feel free, by all means.
And you mentioned unscented hand sanitizer if possible. The funny thing is I found my regular hand sanitizer smells like that, like Purell. Okay. But
sure.
I keep another little bottle in my car that was like left over from when my kid was a baby, and we'd make people sanitize their hands, and it was like Baby Ganix. It's like all organic hand sanitizer. And I was sanitizing my hands before I went to that judging, and the other guys were like, oh yeah, I don't want to use my hand sanitizer because it stinks. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I use the baby sanitizer and it works great. It doesn't smell like anything. It
smells like baby.
Yeah.
I think I need to email Jamil. He was saying he's sitting on a ton of extra sanitizer right now from his efforts over there at the beginning.
That he distilled. Yeah.
So I have some of his hand sanitizer, and it's called Germ Juice, which is a great name.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, it smells hoppy.
It probably does.
I swear to you, because I would imagine he's running IPA because that's the style he makes the most of. I imagine he's running that through his filter or through his still, which that does smell a little hoppy. And when I put it on my hand, it smells vaguely aromatic. So if you get some, check it out. It's very, very weird.
Well, there's a lot of hand sanitizer that smells like booze. I was at the Safeway because the distilleries are making it.
Yeah.
And I was at the Safeway the other day, and the woman who was checking me out says, the checker says the stuff they give us, it smells like tequila to me. Says, yeah, probably because it was at one point tequila.
Yeah, absolutely.
Funny. So some other specific stuff we were planning on doing, at least for the exam, normally I would walk into the room and pour a cider for folks to judge, and I'd say, judge this as yada, 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 this is a New World cider with, Newton Pippin apples and Macintosh, and, it's petulant and it's semi-sweet. And so in order to minimize that type of discussion, especially since everybody's going to be in essentially a different room, I'm just simply making labels for the cup. So I'm gonna, hand them, I'm actually gonna place the cup down, 6 feet away from them. They can come grab the cup. So that's another logistical thing we're doing for the exam. Not really sure how that would work for competitions. And then all the bottles and everything is basically in quarantine for some minimum period of time ahead of time. So, it's not going to be touched by any human hands without gloves on, for probably a week ahead of time. So we'll have everything laid out. Basically telling everybody to wear face coverings at all times. Then we're going to do the exam instructions outside. There's a couple people that have taken the test that haven't done this before, so I want to make sure they understand the ins and outs. Plus, we're doing it by Zoom. We're doing a lot of Zoom practice now, so everybody seems to be pretty ready to go. At least twice now, since things have started to open back up, I've had people take my temperature. At the my ice hockey is back on, and they scan you inside the ice arena to make sure that you're below 98.6 or whatever, and you're in an ice arena, so it's usually like 95, 96. And so anyway, that's something people have recommended. I don't know if we're going to do that for this exam.
Yeah, taking the temperature externally is hard. I'm reading sort of a little bit about that, and it's kind of an inaccurate way because your environment can determine what your skin reads, and the best way is internal. But of course, you're not going to have everybody, unless you give everyone like a rectal thermometer. It's the best. That's the best that we have. So as long as obviously that's not the only precaution that you guys are taking, which I really appreciate, being a scared, paranoid, anxiety-ridden young man. I see footage of people going hotels and they just get a quick body scan, nope, no fever, I don't have COVID. And it's that's not what that means. That's not what that means, man.
My temperature's 73, I'm fine.
Call a doctor.
Yeah, someone was taking temperature of like external temperature, and it was 92. And it's no, that's not, no. They get let in. That person's dead. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, they're dropping off. So I think what you're going to see is people are going to probably, with competitions and stuff moving forward, at least, some of the competitions we're running here, we're actually running a quaff quarantine cup. And so we've limited it to 50 entries because we know how many judges we can fit at the venue. And we're just going to have to do that, to be able to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. And it's going to take more bottles entered. So we're going to give each judge their own bottle, and they're going to be for the first round. And then there needs to be another bottle for the mini best to show, or however many bottles you need in order to work out your judging protocol. But I'd expect people are going to have to enter. It used to be you could enter with one bottle or maybe 2, 3 for whatever first round NHC. But nowadays you could probably expect 3 and up for most competitions, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, and for your quarantine cup, they'll probably enter their best beers, and the judging will be a joy because you're not jam-packed in there next to a bunch of sweaty judges, packed onto a long table, and it's 100 degrees in there. It's going to be pleasant. Is that one outdoors too? Is that at the same venue as I saw the picture of your judging earlier, or is it a different place?
It's going to be in sort of multiple places, that one. So they got groups going here to be in order to be spread out on patios. Since most of the places are open again now, we used to have breweries that were essentially closed, and so we were using their patio spaces and stuff, but now those places are open again. So this one's going to be spread out over a couple of different venues. One is that office, one's an outdoor space. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well, and I'm sure you can keep it safe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I do like every judge getting their bottles, because I imagine they would be paired off, and so maybe they could judge on Zoom if they get their bottles beforehand.
Yeah. You could do it totally distanced, totally separate.
That's great. I don't think like what you were saying, Cooper, you don't need to be jam-packed into a room with everybody. It just sort of makes sense to cram everybody in, and then you get free, stale bagels. There's that.
They're free though.
That's true. They are free. I like it. I mean, that sounds, honestly, to be honest with you, that sounds safer than the plan for Disneyland opening, which just got pushed back, by the way, today. They were going to open July 17th or 18th, and now they're.
Yeah.
So, that I think you're handling it the right way, Travis.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, Hey, man, we'll let you go. I don't want to keep you for too long. Thanks for coming on and tell us about that. It's, I think it's important stuff. And like I was saying, as we move forward, we're going to have to figure out ways to sort of regain some sort of normalcy. And it's just figuring out the best way to do that and keep everybody safe. It's a lot of these people. It's time to do things normal again, but I don't want to wear a mask. Those things are at opposites of each other. You can't do that right now. So we have to work together here to keep everybody safe. So.
Right on.
Yeah, and if you want to read any of the points that Travis made, any of the ideas, you can go on dev.bjcp.org and go under the communications and find the news there, and it's in that area, news or updates or something. Yeah,
newsletters.
But, and I've got a bulletin too. If you go to newsletters, there's for my update this quarter. Of course, I thank Travis profusely for his service and for showing me the ropes a little bit. But there's also a picture of them doing an in-club competition down there in one of those, brew pubs or whatever that was closed in kind of a semi-outdoor space, and everybody's distanced, and it looks real safe. And I would trust the judge in a competition that they're running down there. So
nice.
Do well with it, and cheers, brother.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Later,
Thank
man.
you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap things up. This is Dr. Homebrew. Don't leave. We'll get to hear us tune in just a second. Perfect. All right, Travis, thanks.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good to see you.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
I was sad to hear Disneyland changed. I didn't hear that until just now.
Yeah, I think it just came out a couple of hours ago.
Oh wow!
But it's not. They're not. Yeah,
it made me nervous to hear they were opening already. Yeah.
It's mainly because Orange County, they're not enforcing the mask thing. They haven't had masks for a couple of weeks, I think, and I think it's the right move. It's the right move. But downtown Disney's still opening on the 9th, so we'll see how that goes.
Cool. See you at Ralph Brennan's then. See you guys
later, brother.
Cheers.
Bye.
Okay, so we'll just come back and kind of wrap shit up, I guess.
Yep.
All right, cool. Hey, everybody, thanks for sticking around. We're going to wrap things up here on Dr. Homebrew. I still have a little bit of the Helles left from Mills. It's pretty
Helles, yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy, man. There is oxidation in that beer, but you sort of have to get through the good parts of it. For an old ass beer, I don't know. It was really good, man. It's one of those rare homebrews that sort of have a few flaws that should sort of take down the positives, right? The oxidation shouldn't allow that much sort of perfumey malt to come through. And
it's like when you go to the grocery store and you buy a 6-pack of something, you bring it home, and you're like, look at the date on the bottom. Oh crap, it's a month past its due date. And then you drink it, and it's like, well, that's actually held up pretty well. This is drinkable. This is very drinkable, Yeah. So yeah,
that's sort of what I mean. Like, if I had purchased this at like Bevmo, I would be like, this is still a good beer considering what's going on with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beers that aren't that way. You're like, oh, you can tell it just wasn't made good, not that it didn't hold up. Anyway, and then thanks to Travis for coming on and telling us a little bit about, I think, what we can see more in competitions across the country with BJCP, not just in his exam that he's running in San Diego or any judging or whatever that he's doing. But it just sounds like this is sort of the way forward, at least for now. So
yeah, people have been forced to be creative, and you have to find ways to keep doing some of the normal things you've been doing, but in a smart way, and keeping everybody safe around you as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Realizing the risk, but hey, we can still do something here.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take off here, everybody. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you guys sticking around. If you want more entertainment like this, well, we have, 175 shows or whatever we're up to now. In the backlog with Dr. Homebrew, also on thebrewingnetwork.com. The crows are coming, man.
Sorry. It's all right. I can't. Oh, I'll get my pellet gun.
Yeah, please do. We have the session. We have all sorts of fun stuff. Brew Strong, I know. When this is released, there's a new episode of Brew Strong, which is homebrewing for competition. So that comes right in, dovetails nicely into this conversation. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. And until next time, wear your mask.
And email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com if you want to send us beer.
Yes, do that too.
Please do.
We're looking for a few good beers.
Bye-bye.